Hello and welcome to this new grandMA3 tutorial. In this tutorial I'd like to show you 3 different ways to control the speed of your phasers with a SpeedMaster. So let's jump right into it. First, before we start, I like to assign some SpeedMasters to the Playback. So I open the Playback view and I assign SpeedMaster. You can find it under the Masters tab, Speed, and I take the first one. I will assign 2 more. Now I want to label them. To do that, I press the assign key twice, and here it says label. And then I want to label the SpeedMasters with the attribute I like to control with it. Normally I take the same SpeedMaster number as the attributes are laid down here. The first attribute is the dimmer, the second position, and the fourth is color. So now I like to show you the first way you can assign SpeedMaster to a phaser to control the speed. For that, I like to create a new phaser template. So I take any fixture, fixture 1, I set it to 100, and in the second step, I set it at 0. Now my phaser starts to run. If I like to assign a SpeedMaster, I click on the dimmer attribute and then I tap on the phasers overall, because the SpeedMaster sets the speed for the whole phaser. Here you can find the speed and here you can find the SpeedMaster. Here it says none, so you have to click it and then you can click here. I don't know why it doesn't do that, but you can also turn the encoder wheel with the encoder or with the mouse scroll wheel. So now we've set the attribute SpeedMaster here, and you can see it above here. If you change the look of the phaser editor, here you can see assigned SpeedMaster 1. Now I store this one, press store, and store it here, call it dim phaser speed 1. So now, for example, if I grab the group pool, say we would like to take all our wash lights, let the phaser run, and now we go to the Playback, and with the assign key you can tell the button what it needs to do. I set it to learn speed. Let's make it a bit bigger so you can see it a bit better. And now I here can tap speed. Now we're from 60 BPM to 120 BPM. Let's go back to the phasers view, and you see that it gets quite faster. So you can see that this works. So that was the first way how you could assign a SpeedMaster to a phaser. And you can also use this when you like to use this one for a template with a recipe. There is it. Let's say we like to have phaser 360. We take our now it's set to 0, and you see it works the same way. Okay, I clear everything off. Now I would like to do the same thing without assigning a SpeedMaster to the phaser preset itself, but I will create a new phaser. I take fixture 1, add 100, create the second step, 0%, and it starts. And now I store it. I call it dim phaser no speed M. Here. Now I could go on and hit my wash lights, take this phaser, maybe give it an matrix. For example, that way. I store this into a new sequence. So I clear everything off. And now if I edit this sequence, I go in here and I go to the settings tab. You can give the whole sequence SpeedMaster, for example. Could go in here and take the same one, SpeedMaster 1. Close this one down. And now I make it run. And now you see I can use the same SpeedMaster for setting the speed. Or bring it all the way down so it doesn't move. That was the second way you could do that. I off everything. Now, the third way is that you could do it in each cue for itself. So maybe let's make a new sequence, store an empty one, call it Q speed, and we select it by pressing it once. Then we can go in and edit it. Maybe we make it with a recipe, but you don't have to. For that I take selection, all my wash fixtures. I take, for example, this template, dim phaser, and if I click above here and I scroll all the way to the right, you can see here is a SpeedMaster step, and I can also take this one, for example. Now, what could be the benefit of doing it that way? I store a second queue. I say store Q2, please. Now I've created a second queue, and I don't want to label it. I have to select it, create a new recipe line. I take the same fixtures, and I will grab a color effect, for example. And now here I can take my fourth SpeedMaster, which is labeled as color, because that's a color phaser I want to control with another speed, for example. Now I close this one down. I tell this one to start running. And you can see in the first queue there was only the dimmer phaser, and I can control the speed, as you know. And now I will give it a second go. So we're in Q2, and now you can see there's the red-blue color phaser running, and the dimmer phaser is tracking through. But now, for example, I can let's try to bring the intensity down. The intensity speed down here. Now you can see the color, and now I can change the speed of the color phaser, and I can change the speed of the dimmer phaser. So you could control two different phaser types for two different attributes by using two queues. Now there's one more thing I would like to show you of this one, and I store a new sequence, and I call it, let's label it first, CueParts. We select it again, we edit it, we take the first queue and take our spotlights again. Now we don't take a dimmer phaser for the start. Now I'd like to store only one queue, but with two CueParts. So I say store Q1 part, for example, 2, please. Now we've created a CuePart in the first queue, and here I would like also to use a recipe for the same fixtures, and I would like to take a circle phaser, and now I want to make a second CuePart. So I say again store Q1 part, let's take 4. So we are in the same numbering as I said earlier, 1 for dimmer, 2 for position, I don't use with phasers, and 4 for color. I select it, make a new recipe line, take the same group, and now let's take our Let's take the CMY square. What I can do now is, because of the CueParts, I can scroll all the way to the right here, and I can also use my different SpeedMasters, but within one cue. So I don't have to press the Go plus 2 times. Now I like to let this phaser run, and you can see it's changing the position and it's changing the color. So let's make the position speed a little slower. So see, or a bit faster. Yeah, you can see it. I can tap it. I can use the encoder for that, and I also can change the speed of the color phaser in here. One last hint I would like to say, that you can automate that in a way. I off this first. So that you don't have to type in the CueParts all the time again. You could do, for example, I clear this up a bit. So I take, for example, the second all pool. Here you see I have the first all pool and here the second, but I could also use a normal preset pool, for example, the positions pool. And what you can do now is, in the pool, press the MA sign, and a pop-up opens, and here you can tell the pool where to store what's stored in it in a sequence. And here it's set to CuePart default 0, but I could tell it, for example, to be CuePart 21. So it's the same numbering as the all pool. This is all pool 1 is pool 21. Say please. And for example, I change it in the second all pool to 22, please. And in the position pool, I could set it to 2. Now we store a new empty sequence again and call it Cue preset pool parts, for example. I select it. I like to edit it. And now what I could do is I could say all my wash lights I like to have at for example 100%, so we can see something. I like them to be fanned out. I want a small circle, and I would like to have a disable that so I can give it a face. And yes, now I can enable them Okay. So all this is in my programmer now. And I will store this in my sequence Cue preset pool parts. Store here and merge it into the first queue. So if I clear out now and I edit this, you can see that it automatically created Q1 and it automatically made the CueParts for me. CuePart 2 for the fan out, which is the position, CuePart 21 for the dimmer phaser, and CuePart 22 for the position phaser. And now I can do the same thing, scroll all the way to the right, and here I could give my that's my CueParts different SpeedMasters. Oh no. So I would like to let it run, and as you can see, I can individually control my speed of my phasers. I hope this helps a little bit, and let's see you in the next tutorial.